The Princess Queen offered me to her daughter and said look after. HFY Stories. Best HFY stories in the far reaches of the Helion galaxy. On a planet that glowed with silver deserts and floating crystal forests, a small spaceship landed on the royal platform of the floating city of Lumina. The city sparkled like a jewel against the dark velvet of space, its tower spiraling high above the clouds, catching the light of 3 suns. The city's guards, tall and precise in their uniforms, watched silently as the lone visitor stepped out. The visitor was a young human named Eric. Unlike the usual citizens of Lumina, Eric did not shine with the elegance of the city. His brown tunic was simple, and his boots had dust from the journey across distant planets. Yet, there was something about him, an ease, a quiet confidence, and a kind smile that made the guards lower their spears slightly. Eric had been summoned by a message unlike any other he had ever received. A crystal messenger had appeared in his small room back on the mining station of Koran 7. The crystal's voice had been calm but urgent. Eric of Earth, the Princess Queen requests your presence. Come to Lumina. You are to be entrusted with an important duty. The journey had been long. He had passed through star fields that shimmered like rain, dodged asteroid storms, and navigated the twisting currents of the nebulous streams. Yet none of the space hazards had unsettled him as much as the thought of meeting the Princess Queen. Stories of her kindness and wisdom had spread throughout the galaxy, and yet the idea of being entrusted with something, or someone, filled him with both excitement and anxiety. As he walked up the polished platform, Eric's eyes widened at the sight before him. The Princess Queen herself awaited. She stood taller than any person he had ever seen, her gown a flowing spectrum of stars and galaxies, softly glowing as if the universe itself had been sewn into the fabric. Her hair shimmered like silver strands of light, and her eyes held centuries of knowledge and warmth. Eric, she said, her voice melodic but commanding, you have traveled far. I am glad you are here. Eric bowed respectfully. Your Majesty.
I am honored to be here. I do not speak yet? She interrupted gently, smiling.
I have watched your deeds across many planets. You are known for your wisdom, courage, and kindness. Today I am offering you a task unlike any you have faced before. Eric's curiosity grew, though he felt a small flutter of nervousness. I am ready, Your Majesty. Whatever it is, I will do my best. The Queen turned, and with a graceful gesture, beckoned him to follow. They walked across floating bridges and through corridors filled with floating orbs of light, each orb showing glimpses of distant worlds. Eric felt like he was walking through the very storybooks he had read as a child, stories of heroes, kingdoms, and cosmic adventures. Finally, they arrived at a grand chamber, walls lined with luminous crystals. Sitting at the center was a young girl, perhaps 12 years old, with hair the color of sunlit amber and eyes wide with curiosity. She was Princess Lyra, the daughter of the Queen. Her small hands rested on the edge of a console that displayed stars, planets, and the swirling currents of energy that powered the city. Eric, the Queen said, stepping forward. This is Lyra. She is to be your responsibility. Eric blinked. Responsibility? He had expected a mission, a task, perhaps even a dangerous assignment, but this was different. My responsibility, Your Majesty? He asked, carefully choosing his words. Yes, the Queen said, her voice firm but kind. Lyra is learning to understand the galaxy, to navigate its wonders and challenges. She is bright, but she needs guidance, someone who can show her the value of patience, courage, and compassion. I believe you are the right person to accompany her, teach her, and protect her, without danger, without fear, only guidance and companionship. Eric felt a rush of emotion. This was a great honor, and yet a weighty responsibility. I will do my best, Your Majesty, he said, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. Lyra tilted her head and studied him closely. Are you really going to teach me? She asked, her voice innocent but full of determination. Can you show me the worlds beyond this city? I can, Princess, Eric replied, smiling, and together we will learn more than you can imagine. The Queen stepped closer and placed her hand lightly on Lyra's shoulder. Look after her, Eric. Guide her, protect her, and help her grow. The galaxy is vast and she is ready to see it, but only with someone she can trust by her side. You are that someone, Eric nodded, feeling the weight of her words settle in his chest. I will, Your Majesty, I promise. The Queen smiled and then, with a graceful bow, excused herself. I leave her in your care. Teach her well, Eric. The galaxy awaits. As soon as the Queen departed, Lyra's excitement could not be contained. She bounced slightly in her chair, pointing at the holographic stars above. Come on. Show me! Show me the planets! I want to see everything, Eric chuckled softly. Patience, princess. We will explore, but first you must understand a few things about space travel, star systems, and how to read the energy flows. It's not just fun, it's learning too. Lyra pouted playfully but listened attentively as Eric began explaining. She absorbed every word, her eyes lighting up with curiosity at each fact, each story he told about the galaxies he had visited. Eric realized that she was clever, quick to understand, and full of questions, many more than he had expected. Days passed quickly in Lumina. Eric taught her about navigation, star charts, alien cultures, and cosmic phenomena. They practiced controlling small personal craft in the simulation chambers and learned how to communicate with distant outposts using crystal transmitters. Lyra's enthusiasm was endless, and Eric found himself inspired by her eagerness to learn. One evening, as the twin suns set over the floating city, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold, Eric and Lyra sat on the edge of the crystal platform overlooking the city. Eric, Lyra said softly, do you think I will ever see all the worlds in the galaxy? Eric looked at her thoughtfully. The galaxy is huge, princess, but with curiosity, courage, and guidance, you can see more than anyone else. It is not just the world themselves, but the experiences, the people, and the choices you make that will teach you the most. Lyra smiled, leaning slightly against him. Then I am glad it's you who will teach me. Eric smiled back, feeling a warmth he had not expected. In this vast, sparkling galaxy, he had found a purpose greater than any adventure he had imagined. It was not the thrill of distant planets or the stories of the stars. It was the chance to guide a young mind, to share knowledge, and to help someone grow into the person they were meant to be. As night fell over Lumina, the city glimmered like a beacon in the darkness. Eric knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy awaited them, full of wonders, challenges, and mysteries, and he would be there, by Lyra's side as her guide, mentor, and friend. For Eric, the journey had changed. No longer was it just about the thrill of exploration. It was about connection, learning, and trust. And with Lyra, he felt that the greatest adventures were still to come. He took one last look at the stars that night, their light reflecting in Lyra's wide, eager eyes, and whispered to himself, "We are ready for whatever comes next." And for the first time in a long while, Eric felt not just excitement, but hope. The next morning, the city of Lumina awoke under a pale, rose-colored sky. The floating towers reflected the soft light of the early sun, while the wind currents whispered against the crystal spires. Eric and Lyra stood on the observation deck, preparing for their first real journey beyond the city. Today they would leave the familiar comfort of Lumina and travel to the Star Orchards, a lush planet orbiting two suns, famed for its floating fruit trees and rare glowing flowers. Lyra's excitement was impossible to hide. She bounced on her feet, glancing at the small starcraft that awaited them. "Are you sure this ship is safe, Eric?" "It looks tiny," she said, pointing at the sleek vessel that hummed with energy. Eric smiled reassuringly. "Tiny doesn't mean unsafe. It's built for speed, for learning, and for observing. You'll see, it's perfect for our journey. Besides," he added with a wink, "the smaller the ship, the more you can explore at your own pace." Lyra's eyes lit up. She climbed into the cockpit, her fingers tracing the controls as if they were part of a puzzle waiting to be solved. Eric followed, sitting beside her. "All right," he said, fastening his seatbelt. "We'll start with the basics. The first rule of space travel is observation. Always notice your surroundings. Energy flows, star currents, and even the tiniest signal can tell you where to go." Lyra nodded eagerly. "Got it. Observe everything, small and big." The ship lifted smoothly from the floating platform. As Lumina's towers shrank beneath them, Lyra pressed her hands to the glass, staring at the shimmering rivers of light that ran through the sky. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "It's like the stars are alive." "They are," Eric said, glancing at her. "Every star has a story. Every planet has a rhythm, and every choice we make interacts with them. That's why we must move carefully and learn from what we see." The journey to the Star Orchards was not far, but Eric wanted Lyra to understand navigation. He pointed to the holographic map in front of them. "See these currents? They are the Helion streams. Ships use them to travel faster, almost like riding a river in space. But if you misread the currents, you could drift far from your path." Lyra leaned closer, studying the glowing lines that twisted like ribbons across the map. "So we follow them like a river?" "Yes," Eric replied, "but remember, rivers change. You have to feel the currents, understand their shifts, and adjust. That's the true art of travel. As they glided through the streams, Lyra practiced adjusting the ship's trajectory. She laughed when the ship tilted slightly and corrected it herself, her joy infectious. Eric watched her, noting how quickly she learned. There was a natural curiosity in her, a desire to understand rather than just observe. It reminded him of why the Queen had trusted him with her daughter. Hours passed, and soon the star orchards appeared in the distance. The planet was breathtaking. Enormous trees with translucent leaves floated in the air, their trunks twisting elegantly, and flowers glowed softly, casting colorful light across the landscape. Streams of mist drifted between the trees, and small creatures with wings like glass shimmered around them. Lyra pressed her face to the glass again. It's even more amazing than I imagined. Can we land there, Eric? Please. Eric guided the ship down carefully. We must be gentle. These trees are delicate, and the creatures respect quiet and patience. Remember, Princess, in some places, observing quietly is as important as exploring. They touched down on a floating platform among the trees. Lyra's eyes widened at the sight of fruit that glowed softly, like lanterns suspended in midair. Can I try one? She asked, reaching out carefully. Eric smiled. Yes, but gently. These fruits are sensitive. Touch lightly and don't pick more than you need to learn. Lyra plucked a glowing fruit and examined it. Its surface shimmered like liquid light, and when she took a small bite, she giggled. It tastes like happiness, Eric laughed. Good. That's the kind of discovery we need. Observe, interact gently, and learn. Not everything is about speed or control. As they walked among the trees, Eric taught Lyra about the balance of ecosystems. See these creatures? He said, pointing to the tiny winged animals. They help the trees grow by carrying the pollen. And the trees provide them shelter. Everything depends on each other. Just like people in a city or a galaxy. Everything is connected. Lyra listened carefully, asking questions and pointing out details. Do all planets work like this? She asked. Not exactly, Eric replied, but most planets have systems, flows, and patterns. Learning to notice them is part of understanding the universe. They reached a grove where the flowers glowed brighter. Lyra knelt down to examine one. Why do these glow so much? She asked. The light attracts certain creatures that help with pollination, Eric explained. And it reminds travelers that this is a special place. Light is not just for seeing, it can guide, protect, and inspire. Lyra's face lit up with wonder. I want to learn how to make light guide people someday, Eric chuckled. And you will, Princess. But first, we learn from what already exists. Every lesson has its time. After exploring for hours, they settled near a small pond that reflected the glow of the trees. Lyra skipped stones across the water, giggling as the ripples spread. Eric, will we always explore together? Yes, Princess, Eric said gently. As long as you want to learn, I'll be here. My job is to guide you, and your job is to explore wisely. Together, we make a good team. Lyra nodded, feeling proud. I like that. A team. You and me. As the sun set behind the floating trees, casting shades of pink and gold across the landscape, Eric felt a deep satisfaction. This was more than teaching, it was about sharing life, curiosity, and responsibility. He watched Lyra carefully, knowing that one day she would carry these lessons into the galaxy herself. Suddenly, a gentle hum filled the air. Eric noticed that the trees themselves were vibrating slightly, as if responding to something unseen. Princess, stay close, he said calmly, curious himself. Sometimes planets communicate in ways we don't understand immediately. Lyra's eyes widened. The planet is talking? Yes, in its own way, Eric replied. Listen with your mind as well as your ears. Feel the patterns. They sat quietly and slowly. The vibrations formed a rhythm. Lyra began to hum along, instinctively matching the cadence. Eric smiled, impressed. Good, Princess. You're learning to listen, not just see. That is an important skill for anyone who wants to understand the universe. Night fell, and the glowing flowers lit their path back to the ship. Lyra carried one small bloom carefully in her hands. I want to keep it on the ship, she said softly, so I can remember the star orchards. You may, Eric said. But remember, Princess, beauty is not just for keeping. It's for sharing, observing, and learning from. As they lifted off, the planet's glow reflected in their eyes. Lyra leaned back in her seat, exhausted but happy. Eric! I think I understand now. Exploring isn't just about seeing new places. It's about noticing the small things, learning, and growing. Arik smiled, proud of her insight. Exactly, Princess. And this is only the beginning. The galaxy is full of wonders, and each one will teach us something new. We must be patient, respectful, and curious. That is how true explorers learn. Lyra rested her head against the seat, smiling sleepily. I'm ready for the next adventure, Arik. Whenever it comes. Arik looked out at the stars, feeling the same excitement. They were a team now, bonded by trust, learning, and wonder. The galaxy awaited them with mysteries, challenges, and beauty beyond imagination. And he knew that with Lyra by his side, every discovery would be richer, every lesson deeper, and every journey brighter. As the starcraft glided through the nebulous streams once more, Arik realized that his role was not just to teach, but to inspire. To show Lyra that even in the vastness of space, kindness, curiosity, and understanding could guide the way, and in that moment, under the glow of distant suns and twinkling stars, both teacher and student felt a sense of infinite possibility. Together they would explore, learn, and grow, not as master and pupil alone, but as companions in a galaxy filled with light, life, and endless wonder. After leaving the star orchards behind, Arik and Lyra set their course for a distant planet called Zyphara. Unlike the colorful and serene star orchards, Zyphara was known for its strange floating islands, connected by shimmering bridges of light. It was said that Zyphara held secrets of the galaxy, ancient knowledge left by explorers long gone. Arik wanted Lyra to experience its mysteries firsthand, to learn how to approach the unknown with curiosity, respect, and patience. Lyra pressed her face to the cockpit glass, watching the islands drift lazily through the violet clouds below. Arik, she asked, how do the islands stay up in the air? Are they magic? Arik chuckled. Not magic, Princess, though it might seem like it. The islands float because of anti-gravity crystals deep within their cores. They have existed here for thousands of years. The people of Zyphara built their cities on them because the islands are safe, stable, and beautiful. And yes, it does feel magical. Lyra leaned back in her seat, eyes wide. I can't wait to see them up close. Do we get to land on one? Yes, but we must choose carefully, Arik replied. Each island is unique, and some are protected by environmental energies. They are delicate. We will start with the smallest one and observe before stepping further. As the ship descended, Lyra learned about careful landing procedures. She adjusted the thrusters gently under Arik's guidance, steering toward a small island covered in sparkling moss and luminous flowers. The landing was smooth, and the duo stepped onto the island. Lyra's eyes widened at the sight of creatures she had never seen before, tiny beings that looked like floating ribbons of light, dancing above the moss. Hello, little ones, she whispered, reaching out her hand. The creatures hovered close, curious but cautious. They're friendly, Arik said softly. See how they react to calm energy? Patience and respect let you connect with new worlds. Lyra watched carefully as Arik demonstrated how to move slowly, make no sudden gestures, and notice patterns in behavior. The creatures moved around them, touching the moss lightly before floating away. Lyra giggled with delight. They're so delicate and beautiful. I want to remember every detail. Arik smiled. That's the goal, Princess. Observing teaches you more than rushing ever will. And Zyphara has lessons hidden in every corner. Let's explore. The island led them to a bridge of light connecting to a larger floating island. The bridge shimmered with colors that shifted as they walked, responding to their movements and weight. Lyra held her hand out, fascinated by the delicate play of energy. It's like walking on a rainbow, she exclaimed. Yes, Arik said. Zyphara is alive in ways we must respect. The bridge senses balance, so you cannot rush or panic. You must move steadily, feel the flow, and trust the rhythm. Life often works this way. Balance is key. They reached the main island, where the landscape became more dramatic. Towering crystal structures rose from the ground, glowing softly. Between them were pools of liquid that reflected the sky like mirrors. Lyra knelt beside a pool, watching the water ripple as small fish-like creatures swam within it. They're amazing, she whispered. I've never seen anything like this, Arik nodded. Zyphara holds knowledge from explorers of many worlds. This planet teaches harmony. Every creature, every crystal, every pool interacts in ways that balance life. If you rush or disturb it, the balance is lost. Lyra listened intently, realizing that exploration was more than adventure. It was responsibility. I want to learn to keep balance everywhere we go, she said earnestly. That's wise, Eric replied. Balance comes from observation, patience, and respect for life. Always remember that. They wandered deeper into the island, discovering hidden groves of floating flowers and forests of luminous trees. Lyra sketched the creatures and plants in her notebook, asking questions about their habits and how they survived. Eric answered carefully, emphasizing connections, ecosystems, and the importance of understanding before interfering. Eventually they arrived at a hidden cave, shimmering faintly with the glow of ancient crystals. This cave, Arik said softly, is said to store records of Zyfara's oldest explorers. The energy here preserves thoughts, images, and discoveries. If you listen carefully, you can learn from explorers who came before us. Lyra stepped closer, mesmerized. You mean it's like a memory? Yes, Arik said, but not just memories. The crystals respond to your mind. If you focus, you can see the lessons they want to teach. But only if you approach with respect and patience. Lyra nodded, closing her eyes and taking a deep breath. She reached out her hands, touching the crystals gently. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, images began to form. Scenes of explorers navigating strange planets, solving problems, and learning about life in the galaxy. Lyra's eyes widened with wonder. They're showing me their journeys. Eric stood silently beside her, watching. What do you see? He asked softly. People learning, helping, discovering. They're not racing, they're careful. They listen and watch before they act. It's amazing, Lyra said, turning to him with sparkling eyes. I want to be like them. You already are, Princess, Eric said gently. Every question you ask, every careful step you take, every time you observe and think, it's how explorers grow. The galaxy needs people like you, who see and understand before acting. Lyra smiled, feeling proud. I will keep learning, Eric. I want to explore everything, but also be careful, like the explorers in the crystals. They left the cave, the glow of the crystals fading behind them. Eric guided them to a serene plateau where the sun of Zyfara's twin stars reflected in pools of liquid crystal. This, he said, is where explorers rest and reflect. It is important to pause, Princess. To observe, to think, and to learn from what you've seen. Lyra sat down, gazing at the reflections. It feels peaceful here, like the planet itself is telling me it's okay to take my time. Exactly, Arik said. Sometimes the best discoveries are made in moments of stillness. The galaxy moves fast, but learning is never rushed. As night fell, the twin stars set, and the islands glowed softly in the darkness. Lyra leaned back, exhausted but happy. I've learned so much today, she whispered. I understand why the Queen trusted you with me. You show me not just new worlds, but how to see them. Arik smiled, feeling a warm pride. And you are learning quickly, Princess. Every day brings new lessons, and the galaxy has many more waiting for us. Before leaving Zafara, Arik and Lyra planted a small crystal seed in the soil of the main island. A reminder of our visit, Arik explained. Something to care for, like we care for knowledge and experience. It will grow slowly, just like you, Princess, in your understanding of the galaxy. Lyra held the seed carefully, feeling the responsibility. I promised to watch it grow, and to remember everything I learned here. As they boarded the ship, the glowing islands of Zafara stretched beneath them, serene and mysterious. Lyra watched, a quiet determination in her eyes. Next planet, Arik? She asked softly. Arik laughed. Yes, Princess. The next adventure awaits. But remember, the galaxy is not just about travel or excitement. It's about patience, respect, and curiosity. Those are the real keys to understanding it. Lyra nodded, smiling. I understand now. I'm ready. As the starcraft rose into the violet skies, Arik felt a sense of purpose. Teaching Lyra was more than a duty, it was a journey of shared growth. He had guided her through the star orchards, introduced her to the wonders of Zyfara, and helped her see that exploration was as much about observing and understanding as it was about adventure. The galaxy stretched ahead, full of mysteries, challenges, and beauty. And together, Arik and Lyra would continue their journey, learning, discovering, and growing in ways neither could have imagined. For Arik, the role of mentor had become a partnership. And for Lyra, every step, every observation, every question was shaping her into the kind of explorer the universe needed. And so, under the gentle light of distant stars, teacher and student, guide and learner, sailed onward, toward new planets, new lessons, and a future filled with wonder. The starcraft glided smoothly through the nebula streams, sparkling clouds of violet and gold wrapping around it like ribbons. Eric and Lyra sat side by side in the cockpit, both quiet for the first time since leaving Zafara. Lyra's mind was full of images, floating islands, glowing crystals, and tiny creatures that danced like ribbons of light. "Eric," she said softly, "do you think there's a place in the galaxy even bigger than Zafara? A place full of secrets no one has ever seen?" Eric smiled, gazing out at the stars. "Yes, Princess, the galaxy is vast. Some worlds are known, some are hidden, and some we haven't even begun to imagine. But remember, the true adventure isn't just discovering planets. It's learning to see, to listen, and to understand. That is what makes a journey extraordinary." Lyra nodded, absorbing his words. She had grown so much since arriving in Lumina, learning to navigate stars, to observe carefully, to respect life in all its forms. And she knew that this adventure was far from over. Their next destination was a mysterious planet known as Lumora, said to hold the wisdom of generations of explorers. Its surface glowed faintly, as if the planet itself were alive. Floating above it were thousands of reflective crystals, like a canopy of stars caught in a net. Eric had chosen this world for its lessons in observation, creativity, and patience. As they descended, Lyra leaned forward, her eyes wide.
"It's beautiful. Look at all the crystals."
"Yes," Arik said, adjusting the ship's trajectory. "Lumora is a place that teaches balance. Every crystal, every reflection is connected to the planet's energy. We must move slowly, notice patterns, and interact gently. The planet responds to attention and respect." They landed on a smooth plateau near a pool of luminous water. The reflections of the crystals danced across the surface, creating shifting patterns of light and color. Lyra knelt beside the pool, dipping her hand into the water carefully. It shimmered as if alive, responding to her touch. "Eric," she whispered, "the water, it's like it's showing me something. Can you see it too?" Eric crouched beside her, smiling. "Lumora is a living memory. The reflections show lessons from explorers who have come before. They share their knowledge with those who take the time to notice. Let's watch together." Images appeared in the pool, explorers of the past, each with a unique story. Some had traveled to distant galaxies, learning about strange cultures and ecosystems. Others had discovered new ways to live in harmony with planets, teaching kindness and understanding. Lyra's eyes widened as she absorbed the stories, recognizing patterns and wisdom that she had never considered before. "Eric," she said, turning to him, "they're teaching us. We don't just watch them. We learn from them, just like you've been teaching me." Eric smiled warmly. "Exactly, Princess. Every explorer leaves lessons behind. Lumora shows us that knowledge is not just for the moment. It is for those who care to observe and understand. You're learning quickly, and that is why the Queen trusted you with this journey." Lyra stood, determination shining in her eyes. "I want to remember everything. Every lesson, every reflection. I want to become someone who shares knowledge, just like them." Eric nodded. "And you will, Princess. You've learned the most important skill, to notice, to listen, and to act with care. That is the mark of a true explorer." They spent hours moving through Lumora, interacting with the reflective crystals, observing the energy of the planet, and recording their findings. Lyra's notebook was full of sketches, notes, and observations, each page a testament to her growth. At one point, they came upon a crystal that pulsed differently than the others. It reflected an image of Lumina and the Princess Queen. Lyra stared at it, understanding immediately. "It's showing me, the people we care about. Our journey isn't just for us. It's for them, too. To make them proud, to share what we learn." Arik placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Exactly. Knowledge and kindness are meant to be shared. That is how explorers change the galaxy, Princess. Not through power, but through understanding and care." As night fell on Lumora, the sky lit up with stars and the reflective crystals cast shimmering light over the plateau. Lyra sat quietly, taking in the beauty and lessons of the day. She realized how much she had grown since meeting Eric, how much she had learned about observation, patience, and respect. "Eric," she said softly, "do you think the Queen will be proud of me?" Eric smiled, looking at her with pride. "She already is, Princess, and you should be proud of yourself, too. You've learned quickly, asked questions, observed carefully, and treated every world with respect. That is more than enough to make anyone proud. Lyra smiled, feeling a warm sense of accomplishment. Then I'll keep learning. I want to see the galaxy, understand it, and share what I learn with everyone.
Arik nodded. And you will, Princess. We still have many worlds ahead of us.
Each one will teach something new. Each one will challenge us in its own way. But together we will explore, learn, and grow. Before leaving Lumora, Eric guided Lyra to a small grove where the crystals formed a perfect circle. This is for you, he said. Plant it, care for it, and let it remind you of Lumora's lessons. Growth takes time, but the results are always worth it. Lyra planted the seed carefully in the soft soil, her small hand steady. I'll take care of it, Eric. I promise. Just like I'll take care of everything I learn. As they boarded the ship, Lyra turned one last time to look at Lumora, the floating crystals sparkling like a galaxy of stars. Goodbye, Lumora, she whispered. Thank you for teaching me. The ship rose smoothly into space, and for the first time, Lyra leaned back in her seat, feeling a sense of completion. She had learned so much, not just about planets, but about herself, about responsibility, and about the importance of careful observation. Eric looked at her, a soft smile on his face. You ready, Princess? Ready to face the universe with wisdom and curiosity. The galaxy is full of wonders, and now you have the skills to see them fully. Lyra smiled, feeling confident and hopeful. Thank you, Eric, for everything. For guiding me, teaching me, and trusting me. You did the work, Princess, Arik said. I only guided you. The courage, the curiosity, and the patience came from you. As they glided past distant planets and sparkling nebulae, Lyra felt a new sense of freedom. The galaxy was vast, mysterious, and full of beauty, but she now knew how to approach it, with patience, care, and respect. Every world was a teacher, every star a lesson, and every moment an opportunity to grow. Finally, they set a course back to Lumina, returning to the city where their journey had begun. Lyra looked forward to sharing her discoveries with the Princess Queen, to show that she had grown not just as a student, but as a thoughtful and capable explorer. When they arrived, the Queen greeted them warmly, her eyes soft with pride. Lyra ran forward and bowed respectfully. Your Majesty, I've learned so much. Eric has guided me, and I feel ready to continue learning and exploring. The Queen smiled, placing a gentle hand on Lyra's shoulder. I see that, my child, you have grown in knowledge, patience, and wisdom. And you have done so with kindness and respect. Eric, thank you for guiding her so well.
Eric bowed lightly. It has been an honor, Your Majesty.
Princess Lyra has learned quickly, and she shows great promise. Lyra looked up at Eric, smiling. Thank you for believing in me, she whispered. Eric smiled back, feeling a warmth in his heart. I always will, Princess. This is only the beginning. The galaxy still awaits, full of lessons, wonders, and adventures, and together we will face them all. The Princess Queen watched them, her heart full. She knew that Lyra was not only learning about the galaxy, but about herself. And with Eric as her guide, she would become someone who could navigate any world with wisdom, courage, and care. As the stars glittered above Lumina, Eric and Lyra stood side by side, ready for the next adventure. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries and discoveries, but they were prepared together. And in that moment, the future felt limitless, bright, and full of hope. For Eric, the journey had been about guidance. For Lyra, it had been about growth. And for both, it was about trust, learning, and the joy of exploring the universe side by side. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, and they sailed onward, not just as teacher and student, but as companions on the greatest adventure of all, the adventure of life itself.